All right, Bronco Nation, welcome back to another edition of the Bronco Country Roundup recruiting edition, or should we call it a transfer portal edition? This individual is a transfer portal commit. He just committed. I'm super excited to be here on the day that he committed. This is a huge area of need for the Broncos going into next season. I'll go ahead and bring him on. He is a 6'2", 290-pound defensive lineman. He played at a little bit of Hawaii, a little bit at Nevada, and played pretty darn well against our Broncos over on the Hawaiian Islands. I bring on today Dion Washington. Dion, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I am better now that we get to hear that you're going to be a Bronco.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can't wait.
How are your emotions today? How are you feeling now that you've made that official?
I'm definitely feeling good. I think my last few years of college football have been, definitely learning lessons for me. I think that there's a lot that you can gain from just going to different places from Hawaii and Nevada. And I think, when I made my decision to come here, I kind of took everything into account just because I have so much experience at my last two institutions. So now, making a decision to Boise was a lot easier for sure this time around.
And you're coming from Hawaii. You also played at University of Nevada, Reno. We'll forgive you for that. How much eligibility do you have left?
I have 1 more year eligibility.
Okay. And now this transfer portal is just a fascinating new world that we're all trying to get used to. How quickly will you be on campus? Are you going to be here in just a couple weeks, or are we talking a fall camp?
Yeah, so I'll be there in a couple weeks. They start school around the 12th or 13th, but, hoping and expecting that they'll go a little bit further than that in the playoff. It could be a little bit of a more different process, but I'll definitely be on campus, for however far they go beforehand for the new spring semester.
Well, as excited as I am to have you on campus, if we're delayed because we're still playing in the playoffs, I would accept that.
Yeah.
I hope you would as well.
Yeah.
So you playing at Hawaii this last season, you played pretty well against the Broncos. 3 total tackles, 2 of those were tackles for loss and a sack. Talk to me about that game.
Yeah, that game was definitely a huge game. I mean, Boise was a powerhouse coming in, and for years and years, Hawaii and Boise have had their battles. So for me, I love just taking time. You live for games like this. Ashton Jeanty was a Heisman contender, and for me, I just want to make sure I prepared. Going against one of the biggest stages, against one of the best players in college football, one of the best O-lines in college football, and it's one of the best teams in college football, as you can see. So for me, I was very much so prepared. I took, all the time in the world to watch film, to analyze, and to make sure that I was in the best position possible to play to my best. Even though it didn't turn out the way that my team wanted it to be a few months ago, I'm glad I was able to have a good game. And then now finding my new home a few months later, working on the blue and orange.
And I'm just curious, how much did you guys going into that game, that week of Boise State prep? How much did you guys talk about stopping Ashton Jeanty?
We talked about it a lot. I mean, you watch the film, and anybody from watching from anywhere can tell that he's a special running back. His ability to break tackles, the breakaway speed, the strength that he has as a running back is, second to none in the country as of right now. So it was a lot of, preparing, coaches saying like, hey, like if you guys are going to tackle this guy, it's going to take at least more than one. It's hardly ever you get him one-on-one in the backfield with going down. Even myself, I thought I had him for a second, and he's a pretty strong back, so I can't even say anything about it. But he's a definitely one of a kind type of talent. I can't wait to see how far he goes going on down the future.
And during that game, Ashton Jeanty had a pretty good game, and the Broncos ended up winning. What did you see from the Boise State passing attack? Anything that surprised you?
Yeah, I honestly think that their quarterback is better than advertised. He's calm in the pocket. He makes all the right reads. It was hardly ever that he made any mistakes against us or all season. I think he had like maybe 3 picks on the season. So, for that and just the fact that Boise's had such a good online too, Ashton Genty's great, but they also have a very, very good online with, their guards and their tackles. And I think with that and a quarterback who can just make the right decisions and, he was able to put the ball precisely on every spot, it was definitely hard, trying to stop both because, you want to focus on stopping, a 2,000-yard running back who rushes for 200 yards a game. And then you got a passing attack to where they might do a play action. You thinking it's running, the quarterback sitting back there to be able to pick you apart, especially with a good, smart one. So I think their passing attack is definitely one of the better ones in the conference and in the country too.
And so you entered your name to the portal on December 10th. 10 days later, we're here talking about you committing to Boise State. Talk to me, this new transfer portal, it seems new to me at least. It's fascinating, and we don't get to hear a whole lot of behind the scenes. So you enter your name on December 10th. How quickly and how are you hearing from coaches or agents? How does that whole process go down?
So when you enter the portal, it's a lot of different ways that you can get contacted or be reached out to. So there's a transfer portal, and it's like a little database where coaches can see who's in there actively. And for me, when I first entered the portal, there is a Twitter page called Pharaoh Portal. I'm pretty sure as soon as you enter, it'll post you and everything. And I was posted on there, immediately. A few schools had texted me the first because I entered like 5 o'clock Hawaii time. So, for a lot of schools, that's a little bit later. It's 7, 8 o'clock on some time zones. It's 10, 11 o'clock on the East Coast. So I knew my first few hours initially weren't going to be as active. The next morning is when you get, most of your calls because, guys are waking up and like, okay, like who entered the portal last night that we may have missed out on. Luckily for me, Boise had been watching me and watching, our team play against them, UNLV and everything, and they liked what I was putting on tape. So when I entered the portal, my guy Zane, he shot me a text, and then next thing you know, 20 minutes later, I was talking to Coach Shenander and getting on a visit out here. So it was a pretty quick and easy process for sure.
That is a very quick process, no doubt. What other schools were you considering?
So my first initial was Nevada. A return there would have been great. Getting to see some of my old friends, my best friend still goes there. Had them. Florida Atlantic had also started into the pot. Kent State, San Diego State. I had talked to them for a little bit previously. Boise State had came along, and then a little bit later, Colorado State, UConn, Houston. Just a few schools like that showing their interest. So there was definitely a lot of schools to choose from. But ultimately, I from the jump, I always kind of knew that Boise was going to be one of those schools that it's going to be hard to beat out. And on the visit, everything was perfect.
And talk to me about that visit. You came, obviously it wasn't for a game day, right? It was just, you just came to see around. Talk to me about that visit. What did you learn and what impression did that make on you?
So on my visit there, you could already kind of tell that, everything is a little bit more professional. Just the efficiency in the process of getting me out there, getting my parents out there. If I had to make any, minor details or changes to my parents' flights, they communicated that and they did it just as easy as pie, essentially. So getting down there, talking to Coach D, and, I have 1 year left, and, everybody knows that Boise has some D tackles leaving. Me and Coach D's first conversation was like, we have some guys leaving here, and we want to make sure that you're the right fit for us. So, being a 1 year guy, he's like, you're already going to come in expecting to be a leader. You have the experience to be able to lead our room, matching up with Braxton Feely and everything like that. He's a great player himself. And on my visit, even the guys that are leaving, like Mike Callahan, he came in and helped out. I talked to him even before I got on the trip. Talking to him about the culture, about the program was amazing. He talks about the winning culture they have. Talking to Coach D, he's expecting to win. And, for me, I haven't really had that in my last two institutions, and I feel like for me in my last year, if anything else, I want to go out as a winner, as a champion. And that's what Boise expects out of their team every year. And being pushed to that level by your teammates and by the community. And when you do, you can feel the love, even just being around, there's people giving you high fives, saying, you're going to love it here. Just seeing all the love that the guys get here already just kind of already attracts you to just the program itself.
And you kind of mentioned it. The Broncos are losing two pretty big pieces on the defense line, in Sheldon Newton and Herbert Gums. Do you kind of see yourself fitting into that kind of role? Have you guys talked about that, or is that kind of a show up and we'll figure out where you fit later?
We definitely talked about it just because, I have a lot of experience. I feel like, I've played, every position, the nose, the 4-eye, 3-tech, the DNs at times. So, the expectation is to come in and start, but I know it's never given, it's earned. And, Coach D makes that an emphasis. He was like, we're bringing you in here to play, but you're going to have to earn it. There's guys on the team that are working just as hard to be the starting spot as well. So, going in, I'm not going to go in all arrogant. I'm going to go put my head down, work, earn respect of my teammates and the coaches. And then from there, if Coach D and Coach Shan feel like I'm the best guy for the spot, that's their decision. So I'm just ready to go in and work and just be the best I can possibly be for the Boise team.
And there at the beginning of that, you kind of dropped a Danielsonism. It's always earned, never given. You've spent a little bit of time around Spencer Danielson now. He has lots of those, lots of phrases that we hear a lot, but they do resound with recruits and players. Do you have a favorite one, or are you just going to learn on the go as you get here?
It's hard to find a favorite one right now just because I've only been around him for like a day and a half because of my visit. He had to go for their ceremony. So, it's a lot of things that he said, but to pinpoint a favorite, I feel like you give me like a month or two and I definitely have a favorite one for sure.
I have no doubt about that. Just curious, coming out of high school, had you heard from Boise State or about Boise State at all? You came from Nevada. You're
Yeah.
born and raised in Nevada, correct?
Yes, sir.
And had they recruited you at all prior to this transfer portal season?
No, they hadn't. So out of high school, I was, very lightly recruited. I had a D2, Southwest Minnesota State, and I had Nevada. And Coach Shane was on Nevada at that point, Coach Shane, Coach Chip. And when I got the offer, I kind of already knew I was going to go there. I was like, this is my one shot, first D1 offer. You don't want to lose it, especially in the COVID era. We didn't really get official visits or anything like that. I didn't even get a senior football season. So it was a lot of, things to consider there for sure. And, I appreciated my time in Reno because it taught me a lot of things. Being able to get back and adjust to school, to playing football again, to getting back to the speed of the game was definitely, a thing to adjust to. But I appreciate everything that came with it.
And I didn't look back at the schedule. Have you played on the blue?
Yes, I have. So my first year in 2021, we went to Boise. We won that game, which isn't a thing that usually happens in Boise. They usually come out on top. So me and Coach D talked about that briefly for a few seconds. He kind of wanted to forget about it because he's still mad about it, obviously. So so that was my first time playing. Other than that, I played them in 22, and they came to Reno and put a beating to us. So, and then obviously last year we played. So it's been played them three out of my last 4 years. So it's definitely been a fun time playing against them each year.
And you're right. Danielson has brought that game, that loss to Nevada, up several times in the media, so he's clearly not over that yet.
Yeah.
What did you think of the atmosphere playing on the blue?
I thought it was great. Growing up, like you always saw the blue field. You're like, oh, that would be cool to play on. And, being on it and then seeing it again was definitely a cool experience because it's like you, as a kid, you always watch college football and Boise's always been a great program. And, them being a great program and them having a blue field is like, oh, wow, this is crazy. So, seeing it in person and then, I'm going to have the chance to play on it, 6, 7, 8 times out of the year is going to be a crazy experience. And, one of my favorite colors is blue anyway. So I can't really complain about the blue field at all.
And let's hear it. Does the blue on blue uniform, on the blue turf, does that affect opponents at all?
I mean, I've never heard any of my peers say it from other schools, so I'm not gonna, it might be an ongoing excuse. Oh, we can't see, but I mean, I feel like football is football, and if you're playing against that, whatever. But when we played, they were all orange, so it was kind of a contrast for sure.
That's right. I do remember that particular uniform. All right, so there's a little bit more clarification for those asking. The blue on blue does not necessarily affect anything. You are coming from Hawaii to little old Boise, Idaho. You might have a little shell shock with the weather. Are you prepared for that?
Yeah, I mean, I was in Reno first, so Reno was cold. And, being in Boise, my mom was a little irked at me because I wasn't out there in a T-shirt and shorts one of the days, and it was pretty cold. But I feel like for me, it won't take too much longer to get adjusted to. I mean, it was a shell shock coming from Vegas to Reno in the cold. But I mean, obviously, everybody knows you get spoiled, 70 degrees weather every day in Hawaii. There's not a day under 70, and there's never a day over 85. So it's a lot for somebody who hasn't been around it before. But I mean, just being out there for a few days, my body was getting kind of acclimated to it already. So I don't think that should be too much of an issue.
Well, let's be honest. Are you gonna miss the beaches a little bit?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, having a beach right there at your access 24/7 is kind of a real luxury to have. So not having that, I'll be like, dang, I could go to the beach right now, but I'll definitely know I'm in a better place for sure.
And just to wrap it up, and again, I appreciate you coming on today. I know this is an exciting day for you, and there's plenty of other things or people you could be talking to. So I appreciate you giving me this opportunity. What message would you give Bronco Nation about the kind of player they're getting?
The kind of player they're getting is somebody who is, I like to say I'm a very humble person. I love being in the community. I'm always a person, somebody wants to talk about football in the community. I never turn that down. I love, seeing the younger generations come up. I've been a flag football coach before. I've always loved, giving knowledge back to anybody who wants to be in my position, because I know when I was younger, I wanted to be.
Oh, I think we may have lost Dion there. Dion, can you hear me, buddy? All right. And we are back. We had little technical difficulties, but we are back with Dion Washington. You were talking about how you enjoy being in the community. Do you have anything more to say about that?
Yeah, being in the community, I think, is a great thing, just because you get to give back to people. And, a lot of people dream to be where D1 athletes are. Seeing them run out to the field and seeing the joy that a football team can bring to the community, especially in the Boise community, is something that I think is definitely something that I want to give back to. And I think, the closer the fans feel to the team, I think the more community support that you'll get. And, I've talked to Coach D and Coach Shin, like, I like being in the community, the kids, even the older generation who like going back and talking to players, the alumni, being able to come back, and you kind of live through you, essentially, because they can't play anymore, but they know that they can give you any advice possible. So, going into that, and just as a player, I'm a fiery player. I get excited, I get electric. I like getting involved with the fans. When a big play happens, I want the whole crowd to be invested just as much as the team is, because as a player, there's no better feeling, making a big play and you have a whole stadium, a whole city behind you. So, there's a lot for me to give to this Boise community. For my last year, I'm definitely gonna go out with the bang and give it all I got.
And my last question, just to lead us off here, is Boise State uses the term "built different" a lot. What do you think "built different" means to you?
Built different means just, you do things that a lot of people won't, and in those results, you get the results that Boise's had. I mean, 12-1 season, they could definitely be easily 13-0, just with a few, minor mistakes that, sometimes it's football. That's just how things go. And, being built different is just doing the things that, as a player and a coach and as a whole staff, that, other team, other person want to do, put in the extra time, put in the extra reps, putting in the extra, energy into your diet. And, I feel like for me, being in college for so long, everything matters, your schooling, your at-home piece, your diet, and being able to monitor all that and make it all be one thing and just push forward to a certain goal at all times is something that you can anybody should definitely use to put themselves in the best position. Coach D, has talked about it, and he pushes the team to that level. He pushes the team to be where they are now, and he knows that even then, not everybody's perfect. There's always things to be improved on. So, being built different is essentially just the ability to do what other people won't. And, doing that, you get the results that Boise has gotten the last 2 years, 2 back-to-back Mountain West championships. Now they're getting the opportunity to play for a national college championship. And, a lot of people aren't even surprised that they're there just because of the work they put in through the offseason and what they've done throughout the season.
Final question. Are you going to watch the Fiesta Bowl?
Yes, I will be watching the Fiesta Bowl. I'm trying to see if I can get down there and watch it and then, be up close for it. But I will definitely be watching the Fiesta Bowl. And I'll be watching again tomorrow to see who they play. So, I'm part of it now. So I should be definitely part of it. Even though I can't play and be out there with those guys, I definitely be part of it and be able to be as much there as I possibly can be.
Well, Dion, I think that's a great way to end. I appreciate you coming on today. Congratulations on the announcement.
Thank you.
And go Broncos.
Yes, sir. Go Broncos.